Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaVelas and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link in the description down below, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Joshua Velas. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down every week to talk about all the latest news in the technology, business, and video game world. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Velas. I am your host as usual, and obviously welcome back to the show. Today's episode 125 of the show, and before we get started, we're going to do a bit of house cleaning real quick because, well, we always do it around here anyways, so you guys are pretty familiar that we're going to do this. So I do want to thank you guys for helping us hit over 1,800 total downloads. It really, really means a lot to me that you guys were able to help me hit that benchmark. I'm really excited to see if we can actually hit 2,000 before the end of the year, and possibly before the 2-year anniversary of the show, because it's still crazy how fast time goes. Or I say time fly by, you know? It's, for me, it's definitely interesting on how fast time has really been flying. So I'm excited to see where we are starting the next year, pretty much, because like I said, it's definitely crazy for me. It's a bit surreal that we're almost been 2 years of doing this show, and I'm really grateful and thankful for all the love and support that you guys have given me. I thank you guys for continuing to be awesome and constantly being there for me, because it really does mean a lot. I also want to say thank you to everyone for sharing and downloading the episodes. Also for everyone that watches on YouTube, that you guys like, dislike, subscribe, and then you guys also respond in the comment sections of how you feel about the topics of that week. And to me, it really means a lot to me that you guys are constantly interacting, that you guys are constantly being a part of the show, because that's really the whole point. It's not just me sitting here in front of a camera talking to you guys, or even in front of my microphone talking. It's an interactive experience where you guys get to tell me how you feel about these things. You guys get to choose the topics yourselves, and I get to talk about them and give my perspective on them, whether it be objective or sometimes when I like to be a little bit biased, depending on the topic. I also want to say that I'm really excited because now I got my cam link in today. If you guys don't know what the cam link is, it's basically this little bugger right here. And this thing was a pain in the ass to get. I'm not going to lie to y'all. It's been out of stock since, I think, March is when it's been out of stock. And it's been a pain about getting it because a lot of people have been upscaling, selling it, and just selling it for ridiculous prices. I got it finally today, and I'm happy. And this will allow me to actually record longer with my camera and get more out of it. So I'm actually excited because now I can record longer episodes for y'all. And I can even now do the real talks for as long as my camera can go, pretty much. And I'm actually really excited for this, to be honest. I really am. But I also want to say thank you guys for everything. But now it's time to go into the episode because you guys have voted. And this week we are going to do 2 episodes this week. We are. And this week, primarily this one will be a less serious topic because we are doing a real talk this week. So I hope you guys come back and listen to that on Friday. But for today, we're going to be talking about the iPhone 12 leaks. And I know I said that I didn't want to keep covering the iPhone 12 crap because trust me, I know it's a bit annoying because the iPhone 12, but we do have to talk about it because it is a very important phone. It pretty much is the last flagship phone of the year besides the Pixel 5. And this is obviously the big phone that people have been waiting for because it's the iPhone. And the iPhone always sells incredibly well every year, even though, yes, sales are declining. However, we have been receiving new information recently, and that's why I've been taking a little bit of time to talk about this, because I wanted to take my time to listen to the rumors and see what John Prosser has to say. If you guys don't know John Prosser, I've mentioned John multiple times on the show. John is obviously, a very credible leaker now for Apple, and at the same time, he also runs his YouTube channel. And we've been getting details that, yes, for the iPhone 12s, specifically the Pros, that we will be seeing a 120 hertz display, that it will be adaptive, or it can be always, forced to do 120 hertz. And if you guys aren't familiar with that, yes, modern flagship phones nowadays are starting to come with high refresh rate screens on them. Granted, some of them are either limited to just 1080p, like the Samsung phones where it's 1080p at 120, or you have, say, like the OnePlus phones where you're able to do 1440p at 120, or last year's flagships where the OnePlus 7 Pro, my old phone, had it at 90. And to be honest, I'm actually interested how Apple's going to go about doing this, because one reason that I personally don't like the high refresh rates on smartphones is mainly because of the drain that it does on battery life. Especially if you don't have a big battery in your phone, it causes a lot of issues because yes, it will drain your battery. That's what's expected to happen. There is no, oh, maybe it will. No, like it's gonna drain your battery because it's using like a lot more power. It's the same thing if you were to bump your display up to a higher resolution. It's the exact same thing. It's just like when Samsung like started your phones at full HD plus and then they went to QHD plus, you know, it's like they start you at full HD plus because it's like above 1080p, but it's to help preserve battery life. And then you bump it up because you know you want the better resolution, but you know it's gonna hit your battery life. And it's pretty much the same thing in this case. The only difference is with high refresh rates, depending on your phone, it could either be at 1080p or it can be at 1440p, which at 1440p at a high refresh rate, unless you got a massive battery, it is going to kill the battery on a smartphone. And it probably isn't good for the overall health of it, to be honest, because if you're constantly stressing that battery, it's not really a good idea. You know, like I know some people get on Samsung's grill for limiting it, but I think it was a wise idea because I don't think nuking your battery and focusing on your battery's health and that it doesn't degrade quickly over time, I think is a good idea. Personally, I think at 1080p, especially because it's, you know, it's still above 1080p and it's 120 hertz, that's still good for me. Like I primarily watch everything in 1080p anyways, so I don't really bump the resolution up to 1440p. So I think 1440p at 120 is pretty much overkill and it's unnecessary because you're not really using it for much. Yes, like if you want to watch high resolution, I'd rather just do 60 frames because what's the point of watching a video at 120 hertz? You don't gain any benefit from it. You know, I'd rather have the higher resolution, to be honest, but that's just my opinion. You know, everyone's allowed to have their opinion. Like that's fair. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion of things. However, I will say that it's very interesting seeing how everything's playing out. To me, it's kind of crazy. Not gonna lie, Chief. But this other rumor that's currently going around is that the iPhone 12s will not come with chargers in the box. And a lot of people are like, well, isn't this a good thing? Because I know a lot of people really hate those 5-watt bricks. I know, like, I personally hate those tiny little cubes. I think they're a waste of resources. Like, it's such a garbage cube to begin with. Like, I don't know why anybody would ever use those cubes. I'd rather just have the nice 18-watt charger or the 12-watt charger that comes in the boxes nowadays. Like the ones that come with the iPad Pros or the iPads, I'd rather use those chargers for the iPhones, to be honest. Or just give us a better, faster wireless charger, which that's why a lot of people think AirPower is coming. But if it is true that they are removing the chargers from the box, I think this is not a very good look for Apple. Yes, I get it how some people are saying like, oh, it's to keep costs down and everything. I'm like, dude, let's be real for a minute. Let's be real for a good minute. That is not going to reduce costs. That charger probably cost them like 12 cents to make. That cable, as everybody already knows, the Apple cables are very, very flimsy. They break really easily. I haven't had issues so far with my iPad cable. I really haven't. I haven't seen any issues with it, and it's not really degrading at all. So, but those traditional with the lightning port, those cables are usually really trash to begin with. So I'm like, if you're taking away the cable, and then you're also taking away the earbuds out of the box, which I know some people say, well, I like using the earbuds in the box. And I'm like, do you really use them though? Like most people don't even bother. They just leave them in there because they're like, eh. And it also makes sense to why, like the earbuds, in my opinion, it makes sense why they take them out because most people that own an iPhone have AirPods at this point. It's not unrealistic to say that that's not true. Like just being honest, a lot of people do have AirPods already. So I'm not going to lie to you guys. It makes sense why the earbuds would be taken out. I don't think it's a bright idea to take the charger out of the box. I get why they would do it. You know, like with the iPhone 11, what they did was they put the 5-watt charger in there. And then for the Pros, the 11 Pros, they put the bigger iPad charger in the box. But I do not think removing the chargers from the iPhones is going to reduce the price, because these phones, yes, there's also rumors that the pricing now is changed because, you know, the company that was originally going to make the panels for the iPhone 12s is not up to Apple standards right now. So now Apple had to change and, you know, switch them out. And I think it's kind of crazy that we're going to get a price increase. It's going to be about maybe a $50 increase from the iPhone 11. So don't be surprised because of that. It makes sense, especially because you have to think about it. 5G, like the Qualcomm 5G modems, are very expensive. They're the reason why a lot of Android phones have been raising their prices drastically. There's a reason why you see phones charging like $1,400 plus phones nowadays, because of those Qualcomm chipsets. And I'm not gonna lie, even though Apple controls their own chipset, they don't control the modems that actually run like the data signals and your Wi-Fi signals. So it makes sense, because they did sign a deal with Qualcomm to now bring 5G to the iPhones. And because of that, yeah, they're obviously going to raise prices. And I know a lot of people aren't happy to hear that, especially given the current circumstances in the world right now. But it's what's going to happen is that they have to raise prices. And I know it really sucks. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It does suck. But I think for $50 more, the fact that the rumors are also saying that 64 gigs might be the base storage again, which I pray that it isn't. I really hope that they come through and make 128 the base now, especially because that's what they've been doing with all their products recently. Is now they've been doubling the base storage now with the new MacBooks, with the new iPads. I think it just makes sense that they would start at 128 for the iPhones and not go back to 64 gigs, especially given that they're now pushing this idea of 4K cinematic cameras on their iPhones and being able to do massive production loads on them. I'm like, I just don't see the point of going back to 64 gigs, guys. I think it's time to let it go. I think it makes sense, because 128 should be the standard. And even then, I would argue maybe with 4K video being a priority for these companies now going forward, with a lot of phone manufacturers saying 4K video, I would say maybe 256 should be the standard now. So granted, at least with Samsung's case, they at least give you the micro SD card expansion. So that's fair. So you can dump files on there too. But you get what I'm saying? Like, I think 128 should be the base. I'm praying and having my fingers crossed that 64 gigs no longer is the base. And if it is, I would say it's an easy skip to skip the 64 gig base model. To be honest, I would skip it. I would just get the 128. That should be your base, especially if it's only $50 more. I know it's $50 more, but I know it sucks. Don't come at me. I'm just the messenger. You know, don't kill the messenger. You can go kill the company that's doing it. Also, I will say, if you guys are hearing background noise, yeah, there's work going on in my building, so don't be surprised if you guys hear anything. If you don't hear anything, then cool. That means I did a great job in editing. But if you guys do hear something, you know, you guys already know what it is. Just they're doing work outside. But I will say this, that in my opinion, it's very interesting with the whole iPhone situation, because yes, the iPhone is the last phone to come out in the year. It's a lot of people's anticipated phone. But I do agree with something that Viper said that struck with me, that this could be considered the end of an era for the iPhones, because yes, iPhone sales are on the fall. Yes, they still are making tons of money. They're still selling tons of iPhones, but we're definitely going to see the end of an era, because this is obviously the first year where people will no longer be able to wait in lines for iPhones because of COVID. There's also going to be a change in direction as well, because now that Apple is promoting this transition to Apple's own proper silicone into the Macs, you're going to see a transition where it's going to be weird, because now that iPhones can last easily for up to 5 years with just pure software, and now these phones are getting so good that it makes you really think, is it really worth upgrading? This is a year where, unless if you really need 5G and 5G is such a big thing for you, I don't think buying the iPhone 12 makes sense, personally. I know some people say that's weird. Why would you say that? Aren't the improved cameras and everything worth it? I'm like, well, depending. Are you really even using your own phone to its limits nowadays? Like your current phone, are you even using it to your limit? Yes, if you're using like some budget Android that's like maybe $100 and, you know, like you don't really enjoy it and you just want to get an iPhone, I would just buy the 12, to be honest, depending on what size preference you want, maybe the 5.4 inch or the 6.1 inch. But I think personally, it's very interesting to say the least with where we are at with the iPhones, because the iPhone 12s, I truly feel will be the end of an era for the iPhones, because I think this is the year where, yes, I would say this is the year where we're the final year that we're going to see the notch design. I think it makes sense that this is the last year we're going to see the notch design. And I think next year is when we will see the transition to a new design, because we've been stuck with the same iPhone design since the 10. We've seen the 10 with the same design. We've seen the 11 with the same design. And now it's time to see the 12. And the 12 is going to use the same notch design. I know it looks smaller in some aspects. Like, it gives off the illusion that it's smaller. But based on what we're seeing, there hasn't really been much of a difference, which kind of sucks. But I think we're going to see that big difference with the iPhone 13s. But I would say it's going to be interesting based on the leaks and rumors that we've heard so far. Personally, I think this is going to be a very interesting year for Apple. I think this is going to be very interesting. These are the first iPhones with 5G. Now the base models are becoming much better with better panels. And it's just going to be interesting to see what happens, you know? Like, I know LiDAR is going to be a pretty big thing that Apple's going to be pushing on the iPhones, because think about it, they put it on the iPad, so it makes sense on the iPhones, their flagship device, that they're going to be pushing these suckers to the moon and back, basically. But in my opinion, what do you guys think about it? Like, in my opinion, personally, I want to see how the phones turn out. I want to see how they look. I want to see how they perform. I want to see tests. I want to see, what is the point of getting them? Because the 11 Pro already is an amazing phone. I've told people multiple times, I thought the 11 Pro, even though it was a pretty boring phone for the year, I would still argue the 11 Pro was the best phone of last year. I would easily make that argument that it was the better buy for a lot of people, unless you got a super good deal on one of the Android flagships. Like, comparing the Note 10 Plus to the iPhone 11 Pro Max, I honestly tell people the 11 Pro Max is better. You get better battery life. You get better video quality out of the cameras. The cameras, like I said, in terms of photo, were amazing. In terms of software, yes, if you want 5 years of software support, yeah, then get an iPhone. But it's also interesting because now Samsung is offering 3 years of software support now. So they're matching Google. So this is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out this year with the iPhones. But I would wait and see. To be honest, if you're due for an upgrade, say you're an iPhone 7, then yeah, I think the 12s would be a great upgrade for you guys. Personally, it just really depends. Like, you can either buy an 11 Pro if they still sell them, or you can buy an 11, or you could just buy the base model, 12, or you can just buy the 12 Pro Max, But it really just comes down to where you guys are at financially. Just be mindful. Like, don't go overboard. Like, really just spend what you have. Like, don't try to go crazy overboard with it, But in my opinion, I would say a lot of the features coming to the iPhone 12 are very impressive. I think having a higher refresh rate, yes, the tech nerds are going to be happy about that. At the same time, personally, in my opinion, I want to wait and see. Because I know a lot of people keep saying, like, oh, Apple needs to keep up with Android. And I'm like, well, not really. Like, yes, they take inspirations, like with iOS 14, the changes that are coming, which are healthy additions that a lot of people have wanted on iOS for a long time. And it takes heavily inspiration from Android, like with widgets and, overlay when you're like, say on YouTube, like you let your video run in the background and stuff like that, where, it has a little bubble, and then you can also resize it and things like that. And, finally being able to organize the apps on the iPhone is amazing, because iOS was definitely a giant mess in terms of that, in terms of managing your apps. It was a giant mess. It was ugh. But personally, I would wait and see how the iPhone 12s turn out. I want to see pricing. I want to see, base storage options. I want to see the improvements in the processors. I want to see the improvements in cameras. And I would say make your judgment call then. But I would just wait and see. There's no reason to go overboard and just buy it immediately. Like, you have options. Pay attention to your options, guys. Because think about it. If they keep the 11 Pro and the 11 around and reduce their prices, I would say get an 11 Pro, to be honest. I would say for a lot of people, if you do not care about 5G, the 11 Pro and the 11 Pro Max are definitely good options, to be honest. They really are. They're amazing phones. Their processors are amazing. Their cameras are amazing. Like, it's proven quality. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Like, you can improve it, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. It still does well. It's still going to get all the software updates that the iPhone 12 is going to get. It's just going to get an extra year. But that's all I have for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. I know it's more of a shorter episode today, but that was the new information that has been provided to us. Obviously John has been providing this info. You have other people providing this info. So if I were you, I would personally also follow John on Twitter. I'll be leaving a link down below to John's Twitter page so that you guys can keep up with John when he posts leaks and when he posts rumors and when he gives his opinion on things. Because like I said, he's a very, very interesting guy, not gonna lie. Yes, John has been incredibly right on a lot of things. Has he gotten some things wrong? Yes, because that's part of the game with leaks and rumors, is sometimes things are wrong. But I would definitely give John a follow on Twitter if I were you guys. Like, if you're listening to me, then you guys probably know who John is already. But if you haven't, leaving a link to John's Twitter down below so you guys can go follow John. But I do want to thank you guys for coming back. It really, really means a lot to me. You guys know I care about you guys all. Like, you guys are all amazing. You guys are great. I'm not just saying that just to say it. Like, I am being genuine and honest because that's just how I am as a person. Is I don't see the need to put a facade on for you guys or pretend to be someone that I'm not. Like, I don't need to. Like, that's just, it's outside of who I am as a person. And I personally am grateful for all that you guys have done, all the support and love that you guys have given me. And I hope you guys continue to keep coming back and listening. Obviously, to my Patreon backers, thank you guys so much. You guys really mean a lot to me for supporting me. If you want to become a Patreon backer, you can obviously click the link down below. It's only $2 a month to get extra content. I'm also going to be doing other special things because, as I mentioned before, I started my photo business. So I'm going to be taking a lot of photos, maybe some little vlogs here and there. But the Patreon backers are definitely going to get more benefits soon. And I really hope that you guys enjoy it, to be honest. And it's going to be a fun time. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's going to be really fun. But I hope you guys come back to listen to Friday's episode. We're doing a real talk for sure. I'm going to leave the real talk, like the topic, as a secret because it's something that's been on my heart for a while now that I just want to talk about and just lay it out there and let you guys know how I feel about things. But I thank you guys for everything. You guys continue to be awesome. Please continue to be safe because I know things are definitely getting crazy out there. And I hope you guys continue to be safe. Take care of everyone around you. Please continue to tell the people that you love them because you never know if you're not going to see them again. And I always tell people, every day is a blessing from above. Always be grateful for another day of life because you are not guaranteed another. Be grateful for what you can do today. Like, focus on today rather than tomorrow because you are not guaranteed another day. And that's what I always tell people is, and I even tell myself some days where I have to wake up and be grateful for things because I'm like, every day is a blessing. So make the most of it, Don't just waste it. But I love you guys to death. Please, please continue to be safe. And I'll see you guys on Friday. Bye, guys. Hey there. Thank you for listening to today's episode. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day and listening to today's episode. If you're interested in supporting the show, whether it be financially, clicking the follow button, or just sharing the episode, it all works for me, guys. Thank you guys so much for your time, and I love you guys to death.